fascinating renaissance of friends. What does it mean to live a good life? To share, because we've been talking about, all right, living the good life, all right, the autumn of our life. Well, Leo Tolstoy, the great Russian literary genius, okay, wrote two greatest works, okay, two greatest novels, where he wrestled with this question, one through tragedy, the other one through his mortality. Okay, so why am I starting this way? This is episode 131. It's our continuing series on literature being taken out of the classroom into our very lives. Not old words written on a page, but actually timeless truths, eh? For living wisely, gracefully, and elegantly. So the whole month of October, we will take, and live literature. We've started with William Shakespeare, Life is a Stage, and then followed by Jane Austen's, by saying that true love, real love, okay, only blossoms if there is, if there's mutual respect, and if we remove pride that kills us, that blinds us, and prejudice distorts us, but real humility heals us. We now go to what does it mean to live a good life. Okay? We will do so from the two great works of Leo Tolstoy. He's a Russian, he's a Russian literary genius. And even if he was born in the 1800s and the 1900s, he was really at the top of his literary career, you will find out that his words, his work still echo true in 2025, right? First of his work is Anna Karenina. Okay, you may want to read that yourself. Fine, okay? The summary is, the story is a very tragic story of a married woman, a married aristocratic woman in Imperial Russia, okay, who was very unhappy with her marriage, and so she had a passionate affair with another nobleman by the name of Count Vronsky. Okay, and in Imperial Russia then, in the 1900s, well, she was ostracized instead of being truly happy, all throughout her life. She was ostracized. She was, looked at as a bad woman, that she betrayed her husband. She was judged, by society, and it ended tragically. She committed suicide by throwing herself on an ongoing train. That's the tragedy of Anna Karenina. And the other work that we will be taking today, is the death of Ivan, the death of Ivan Ilyich, and who is he? Well, he comes from a relatively, well-to-do family, not really an aristocratic family, but well-to-do. And then he was also in a very unhappy marriage. Why is that thing very, very common? Unhappy marriage. And then he injured himself, and he had a he had a terminal, long-lasting, illness that really was very, very painful until the end. Okay, of course, he died. Okay, so what can we, what can we learn from these two novels by Tolstoy? There's one quote that I would like to focus on as a linchpin, as a linchpin, meaning that is what that holds it together. And then Ivan said this. Ivan Ilyich, okay, said, "Death is life's greatest teacher. It strips away illusions." Okay, this is not a quote, by the way. I'm sorry. Okay, I correct myself. It's not a quote. It's one of the lessons that we can take from these two tragic stories, of course. Okay, the first one, and may I repeat, okay, death is life's greatest teacher. It strips away illusions. Okay, I am reminded very clearly now. I didn't prepare for this, meaning this thought just came to my mind. The last words of Steve Jobs on his deathbed. Okay, I don't have, okay, because I only remembered it now, so I couldn't really take it really from memory. I just remembered he's saying something about dying. You know, when you are in your deathbed, he says your wealth, no longer matters. He was already a billionaire when he died of pancreatic cancer. He says your money, your wealth isn't going to help you. It is not important. What you have achieved, your achievement is no longer important if you're staring death at its face, And he was saying that. And the most important thing, I remember him saying, love your family. That's what he was saying. Okay, for Steve Jobs, who was a game changer, who changed the landscape of mobile communications and the mobile business, who is a billionaire and is there. His billions couldn't save him. But then he remembered one thing. Those things are not important. Clearly. Death is life's greatest teacher. It strips away all illusions. This is my wish for everyone who's listening, everyone actually, that there is another. I want to remind them that there's another word that people say is found in the Bible. It's not, but it is. It's biblical in its meaning, its context, but not written as such. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. It means that even if you have the most money, even if you're the most powerful person in the world, the greatest inventor in the world, that too shall pass. And that is the favorite quotation of this newest American martyr, Charlie Kirk, where when he was assassinated, and there's a big, a revival going back to Judeo-Christian values, because that's what he stood for. He stood for his faith in Jesus, his love for God, love of family, love of country. That's what he fought for. And to think that he was just 31 years old, because he was getting death threats because of his influence, okay, especially on the Gen Z, young people, okay, was getting, death threats. So they talked about it, when he was asked, what do you want to be remembered for? That's what he said. I want to be remembered by people for my faith in God, okay, for my faith in Jesus Christ, for love of family and love of country. So when he was asked what would be a quotation or a saying that is your guiding principle, this is what he said. He said that, this too shall pass. It's exactly, death is like life's greatest teacher. It strips away illusions. And then he explained, this too shall pass, no matter what your achievements are, no matter if you're the top of your career, that too shall pass. Okay? So it makes you humble. That's what he said. I agree. And it's also said that this too shall pass if you're undergoing extreme pressure, extreme tragedy, extreme challenges. This too shall pass. That's what he said, which means that, it gives you a lot of hope. Can you imagine that? How many centuries, how many centuries separate, Tolstoy and Steve Jobs? And then how many years separating Steve Jobs and Charlie Kirk? But they're still saying the same thing. The same thing in many, many different words. If Tolstoy, said that death, is the greatest teacher because it strips away all illusions, okay, and Steve Jobs saying the wealth and what you achieve is nothing if you are at your deathbed, only love for family. And if Charlie Kirk is no longer with us, but he says that this too shall pass, what a great lesson for all of us. Whatever season of life we're in, okay? If we're in the spring season, yes, celebrate your youth, celebrate your beauty, celebrate your strength. Yes. If you're in the summer of your life, celebrate your victories, your achievements, your success, your power, your wealth. If you are just like me, okay, in the autumn of our life, we celebrate the peace. We celebrate, the calmness. We celebrate our family, the solitude. We celebrate that because when winter comes, we're simply waiting for our exit, isn't it? Okay, and then the second lesson, okay, very quickly, I think because number one is the greatest for me as far as I'm concerned. The second lesson is happiness is found in authenticity, not in appearances. It's being who we are. So I guess, when we're in the autumn of our life, we begin to think, what have we really achieved? And you say, who am I becoming really? Am I becoming a better person or a worse person? Okay, am I being more loving every day or unloving? I guess this is it. It's not so much. Of course, we are not as young as we used to, not as bright as we used to. Maybe not as beautiful or sexy as we used to, but we are beautiful in our own way, isn't it? Let's be true to ourselves and not be like and not be try and be like somebody else. Okay, I talk about that in role models. I think it's episode 1 to 8, role models. Okay, and of course the last one is compassion and truth outlast success. Agree, because this too shall pass. How do you want to be remembered? Somebody who's compassionate, somebody who told the truth, even though it is inconvenient and it will cost you your life. Okay? Food for thought, isn't it? Okay. Tolstoy reminds us, okay, do not wait until the end to ask whether you have lived well. All right? Don't ask, have I lived well? If we're in our deathbed, we're saying goodbye to our loved one. Don't wait until that time. He said, have I lived well? Have I loved my family, my children, my spouse, my grandchildren? Have I been a good testimony for my faith to them? Begin now. It's never too late. You say, maybe, Miss Malu, I'm already in the winter of my life. It doesn't really matter. Begin now. Okay, with love, with truth, with courage. Okay? So remember, my fascinating Renaissance friends. Okay? This is not just literature for you. This is not just about Leo Tolstoy's, literary work. Because literature is not supposed just to be read and studied in the classroom to get good grades. It is meant to live the good life. Okay, so please engage with me. Either you agree or disagree, doesn't really matter. I'd like to hear from you. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more of these literature jumping out of the pages into our lives. Okay, then, my friends, adieu.